Maui's warning siren stayed silent as wildfires approach Lahaina. Here's what
New this morning, the death toll from Hawaii's devastating wildfires has risen to 111, and officials are starting to release some of the names of those victims. The police chief at a news conference overnight.
My controversial opinion on this is not necessarily that this is born out of like direct negligence of those who are involved in it. I mean, it certainly there is negligence here. The larger issue at play is our complete inability to comprehend how devastating anthropogenic climate change is. Okay? That is the reason. The infrastructure is not ready for it, because why would it be, is the attitude that most people have. And it's not, like, a lot of people think climate change happens like that, and then you wake up one morning and your house is underwater. But that's not how this goes. It's incremental. These minute changes in weather patterns end up having devastating consequences on environments that are not ready for it. And it's very frustrating. The issue is, like, because the broader, the majority understanding of it is that it's just like, oh, it's too over-encompassing a problem to deal with, and we don't really see the immediate impacts in a tangible way, so it doesn't really matter, and we want to cost cut as best as possible, that, like, they don't put forward necessary safeguards for things that previously were thought unimaginable. This is about as tangible as it can get. Yes, I'm saying that it only until it becomes a massive catastrophic event do people actually get motivated to make the necessary changes. And all the while, there is the other side of the equation where people are legitimately looking at it and going, no, I don't want to believe that this is real. This is a real existential threat. It's too scary for me to think, or I don't want to believe it. So I would rather believe in conspiracy theories about how it is Oprah or space lasers, Jewish or Chinese. You know what I mean? Like that is part of the problem as well. 33% of the country has consistently refused to take climate change seriously, don't believe it's real at all. An even larger percentage think that it's not that big of an issue or an existential threat. You know what I mean? And the overwhelming majority do not know what the necessary steps are. What we're talking about here isn't even rolling back our carbon footprint in a meaningful way so that we can try to combat the long-term issues. What we're talking about right now is the understanding that devastation is going to occur no matter what, and we need to engage in harm reduction and mitigate the worst consequences. And even that conversation gets muddied due to capitalist profit seeking. Like this, what we're having a conversation on right now isn't even like, oh, you need to fucking use paper straws or you need to lower your carbon footprint, like stop doing all this shit. Like that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about, here are the necessary safeguards that are absolutely necessary to implement. And people don't even want to see it like that. They don't even think about it like that, because why should they? Yes, paramount, that's a better word. Necessary safeguards that are paramount in order to survive the impossible to avoid extreme weather conditions that are dramatically changing our lives. It's wild. I already ran the top of the hour ad break. Don't get fucking puggoed when I talk about avoid. I use the term avoid.
Also says that some of the remains they're finding are the remains of children. Search teams have covered at least 38% of the area, with an additional 225 people added to the search efforts and another 20 dogs. Hawaii's Governor Josh Green told CNN last night that the estimates, more than 1,000 people, are still missing. Now, scrutiny is being placed on the state's emergency response. Hawaii has one of the largest siren warning systems in the world, but those sirens remained silent as the wildfires raged.
The governor has ordered the state's attorney general to launch a review, telling CNN on Tuesday night that some of the sirens had been aging over decades. Some were broken during the wildfire. Maui's emergency management agency's administrator said the sirens had been tested just a week before and did not sound deliberately.
Do you regret not sounding the sirens?
I do not. The sirens, as I mentioned earlier, is used primarily for tsunamis. Had we sounded the siren that night, we're afraid that people would have gone malka And if that was the case, then they would have gone into the fire.
Here's what Hawaii Senator.
Oh, they're saying that, okay, typhoon and hurricane sirens, like the only, no, it makes sense, chat. They're saying that they would have ran towards the fire in the instance of a tsunami. They're saying that, I mean, I think this is just to cover their bases, but the point for those sirens, this is literally what I'm talking about, by the way. What I'm talking about is that they don't even have the infrastructure for a wildfire because they've never thought about a fucking wildfire over there. The only infrastructure they have in the, like, you build a city and you build these safety measures in accordance to what the natural disasters in your area are going to be. That's why there aren't safeguards in Texas for potential freezing incidents where the entire infrastructure is blacked out due to their power grid getting shut down from freezing. Why would you expect that? You don't expect there to be a wildfire in a fucking tropical rainforest. Why would you expect that? Well, we should expect that because scientists keep telling it's crazy. Why would you expect a hurricane in Los Angeles? Exactly, which is not going to be a hurricane, but it's going to, as far as I understand, a tropical storm in Los Angeles in the middle of fucking August. That's not supposed to happen. You don't spend money on snow plowing devices in Arizona. You know what I mean? Because you don't think that it's going to it's going to be a necessity. You don't have that in Los Angeles because you don't think it's going to be a necessity. Yes, grid winterization in Texas is another great example of this. It's hurricane season, but I understand your point about it being weird that it's hitting SoCal. Yes, hurricanes usually don't hit Southern California, especially not in, I mean, hurricanes don't hit Southern California in August. August is like, this is supposed to be wildfire season. Hurricane's name is Hillary. The all-hazard siren systems can be used for a variety of both natural and human-caused events, including tsunamis, hurricanes, dam breaches, flooding, wildfires, volcanic eruptions, terrorist threats, hazardous materials, and more, according to the Department of Defense Hawaii website. But as far as I understand, I guess they're saying that most of this, as you can see, look, all-hazard statewide outdoor warning siren system mostly is about tsunamis. Look, some tsunami awareness, tsunami live. So, like, they were worried that if they put the warning signs up, that people would go into high ground, which is what you're supposed to do, which is what you're geared to do, in an all-hazard situation, because that's what you're used to. They're worried that people would have rushed into high ground and the casualties would have been worse, I guess. Basically, when you hear footsteps, think horses, not zebras, for natural disasters. I do still believe that any alarm probably would have been better. I think they're just covering their bases. But yeah, in tsunami areas, they have tsunami evacuation routes with signs on them. So those are the routes people would think of first. Yeah. If you live in an area that is earthquake prone, for example, and there's never any wildfires there, let's say, when you hear the warning sirens, you're going to go rush and hide under like a door frame or under your desk and cover your neck. You're not going to immediately run outside and escape assuming that there's a fire happening, because all of the training that you've gone through is for earthquakes. Are you not worried about the hurricane tropical storm at all, though? I am worried about it because, just like we're talking about this, there is no flood prevention in California. The water basin in the LA River is not, what's the term? Is not made out of material that is not made out of material that is supposed to allow the water to escape into the ground. It's not porous. It's not absorbent, which means it will absolutely fucking flood. Then you also have the other problem where the sediment on top of the ground is not used to that level of rainfall, especially at all, but especially not used to that level of rainfall in August. So that will probably cause mudslides, landslides. That's going to be another issue. So we'll see what happens. But for people that don't know, the LA River is concrete. The bottom of the LA River is all concrete. That's why you see cars driving on it in like movies and shit like that. That's not porous. It's not permeable. Water does not seep into the ground. The amount of water that can seep into the ground from concrete is minimal. So when that happens, the water levels keep rising, and will most likely flood. Dumb question. Why is it concrete? Foolish decisions made by the engineering corps, like at a time when they thought that it would be better to, I guess, have some kind of like river going through the city. It is intentional, yes. Like they wanted to create a canal structure, I guess. Maybe we could see Oprah as a waterbender as well if she has properties in LA.
What is up? This is your LA in a minute. And today I want to talk about the Los Angeles River. Let's get into it. The LA River as we know it is a 51-mile concrete channel near its mouth in Bell Creek in Canoga Park to Long Beach, where it lets out into the Pacific Ocean. Historically, the river was the main water source for the native Tongvan people who would also fish and hunt mammals and birds along its banks. After the Spanish conquerors enslaved the native people, Juan Crespi renamed the river Rio Porciuncula. From that point forward until the opening of the LA Aqueduct in 1913, the LA River was the main water source for the people of Los Angeles. That said, the river was prone to major...
Yeah, it was for flood control. They didn't expect storms to get fucking worse and there'd be 5 million people. Yeah, but as far as I understand, the river... Okay. Yes, it's for flood control, except they still could have done flood control with a canal structure that also had a better... Like, they could have used a different... They could have used something not concrete that was more porous, so they could actually have at least some of the water feed into the ground.
Flooding. I mean significant, catastrophic flooding. In the Los Angeles flood of 1938, the river overran its banks and killed more than 100 people. A huge infrastructure followed, and the Army Corps of Engineers paved over the river and built it into a huge concrete channel. This concrete channel that I knew as the Wash growing up. Though rainwater and snowmelt are the primary source of water for the wildlife that congregate in the river, it's highly polluted as the water is mostly runoff from the 800,000 San Fernando Valley homes. The San Fernando Valley is where you'll find the Sepulveda Dam and the Sepulveda Basin, a flood control channel to manage floodwater runoff. In June of this
There's also that shit that they could have had key points with trees and greenery and dirt to absorb the water. Exactly.
This year, the LA County Board of Supervisors voted to approve a new master plan for revitalization of the river. So the revitalization of the LA River is already well underway in certain parts, and soon, hopefully, it'll reach the entire length of this magnificent Los Angeles waterway.
This is what they do in Tokyo. Japan's underground temple protecting Tokyo from floods. It funnels away and redirects excess water from storms and typhoons.
建坑のサイズはですね、直径30メートル、深さにして70メートルぐらいあります。施設としてはスペースシャトルとかですね、自由の女神がこの中にすっぽり入るぐらいのサイズをイメージしていただければいいかと思います。
I mean, too much money, man. Too much money. Completed in 2006, the chamber cost at least 230 billion yen, $2.2 billion to build. The facility swings into action around 7 times a year. For them, though, this makes sense, okay? This does make sense. Why? Because it's a fucking island. Do you see what I'm saying? California, you think about it, you're like, well, it's a desert near the water, right? So no one in California is like, oh, shit, we should have built infrastructure that could withstand more flooding. Because the reality is that they thought that water levels or the amount of rainfall would be manageable. The amount of ice melting from the top of mountains would be manageable.
この施設ができる前の時に降っていた大きい雨の時と、この施設ができた後にできた同規模の雨が降った事例があるんですけども、その時でですね、地域の浸水被害の顔。
Last year you complained about drought, here's your water, and now you complain about that, pick a lane. No, that's, first of all, I've been talking about this for a minute now. It wasn't last year that people were complaining about the drought. California has had drought issues regardless, because once again, I know that person is joking, but I need you to understand something. The problem here is that water is not even going into the ground anyway. So it doesn't even fucking matter. It's not usable. So the floodplains are actually not helping combat the drought in general. The only thing that helps combat the drought is actually ice melt. Like that, those floodplains in Los Angeles are not creating an environment that is absorbing water. The ground is not capable of absorbing enough water in general. It has to take a much longer time.
浸水被害した家屋が10分の1ぐらいまでですね、低減できたという実証はあります。
It doesn't replenish the aquifers. Well, the only thing that replenishes the aquifers, which has for California, has been ice melt, snowy conditions, and like mountainous regions getting more rainfall and having more ice. Like that is what has been actually a snow melt and ice melt. Well, not ice, but snow melt has been replenishing aquifers, not the rainfall. I like that these motherfuckers were like, yeah, climate change is real. Seems like a problem. Seems like it's going to increase the size, frequency of rainfall, right? Seems like it's going to be an issue for our citizens. Might as well do something about it. And that's precisely what they fucking did. That's what they did. If global warming's real, why am I cold, brother? Cold world, baby. You saw I'm potentially a dumbass, but couldn't we civil engineer our way out of this? Yes, you could. I think you could potentially make, like, substitute the concrete for more porous material. You could also create greenery and try to add vegetation to certain areas so that it sucks up even more of the water and utilizes it alongside the river basin. It's, you know, these are necessary things that you could do, which we should do, except we're not going to do it because costly. I suspect it would the infrastructure building would be fought tooth and nail by homeowners, developers, real estate developers, associations that that are just a collection of fucking NIMBYs that have a complete stranglehold on Los Angeles development or California development in general. The issue with doing that is that it can destabilize the underground foundations in areas with a lot of rainfall, but I guess we'll see how LA and Southern California handles it going forward.
と言われるいわゆるノンストラクチャラルメソッドっていうのが要は物で、しない、例えば避難を迅速にすることであったり、アウェアネスを高めること、ハザードマップでしっかりと自分がどれぐらいのリスクにあるのかということを、あらかじめ知っておくというような対策っていうのは非常に効果的だと思います。
I swear to God, that looks like where they had that Jujutsu Kaisen battle in last season with like the three brothers, and then like one of the fucking demons is like jumps on the pickup truck on the side of the road. You know what I'm talking about? It straight up looks like that. Listen, every day I gotta have one fucking ayaya moment. Oh, speaking of wildfires, Canada. Canadian wildfire has forced all 20,000 Yellowknife residents to evacuate.
A wildfire emergency in Canada. An entire town is racing to evacuate right now as the flames close in, and Ginger is tracking the very latest. Good morning, Ginger.
Morning to you, Rebecca. The city is Yellowknife, the capital of Canada's Northwest Territories. It's got a population of about 20,000 people, and they got to get everybody out by tomorrow when they anticipate the fire that is far too close for comfort to take over even the highway, the one that goes in and out. So this is one of 250 fires within the Northwest Territories and more than 1,000 across Canada. We know they have had an unprecedented season, but this graphic that we're about to show you really puts it into perspective. This is all of the acreage burned to date. Look at 2023, nearly doubling their worst in the last 40 years of history. And so 600% of normal to date, an incredible one. And the impacts here have been smoke, and they will be unhealthy air quality.
Bro, what is this? Yo, what is this fucking graphic, dude? That graphic is crazy. Jesus Christ. Bro, they are literally cooking Canada right now. It's the "this is fine" meme. Yeah.
Wisconsin, back into Oregon and parts of Washington state. Lindsay?
Wow, that graph really just unprecedented there. Ginger, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Steph
What's Oprah trying to do over there? What's Oprah trying to do out there? Y'all figure that one out? Or is this also Chinese space lasers, you think? We're struggling out here. 3/4 of Ontario's land is on fire. Thankfully, it's only about 1/8 of our population. I mean, it's still fucking awful.